Today we're going to talk about the Move hardware feature that's available in the C code products. So really Professional Plus, Expert, and Corporate is where it'd be used. Express Plus is single server, so it wouldn't be used down there. But Pro Plus, Expert, and Corporate all have this functionality. So what is it? It's actually a fairly simple feature. It basically just allows you to move hardware, which would be cameras, encoders, IOs, audio modules, whatever it is, from one recording server to another recording server. So fairly straightforward as far as the feature. We'll kind of get into different aspects of it here, but in and of itself, that's all it is. Just allows you to move it from one recording server to another recording server. Those two recording servers do have to be part of the same management server. So this isn't a thing where, like in Federation, you can move it from one management server to another management server. This all has to exist within the same management server. So why would you use it? Well, there's kind of three main reasons why you'd use it. One would be load balancing. So as a system grows over time, you may find that you've come to the point to where you've got too many cameras on a recording server and one of your resources is getting hit too hard. Maybe your CPU or RAM is really high. Maybe you're running out of storage, so you're not getting the 30 or 60 days that you're wanting to. Whatever the reason is, this allows you to either spin up a new recording server and move cameras over to it, or if you have another recording server that isn't as loaded up, then you can just move over to that one. If you're upgrading, so if you need to replace a recording server, this would be one option to do that. So you can install the new recording server and then just move all the cameras off the old recording server to the new recording server, or replacing a defective recording server. So your recording server blows up, spin up a new one, and move the cameras over to it. As far as options that are available, there's really only two options. You can move a single camera at a time, or you can move multiple cameras at a time. If you're moving multiple cameras at a time, they all have to go to the same recording server, so you can't choose to move all cameras off of one recording server and move them over to 3 different recording servers in one shot. You could do the process 3 times to divvy them up. And this is, again, go back to load balancing. This would be useful in a load balancing scenario. What happens to the old video? So you've moved the camera from one recording server to another recording server. The video itself does not move to the new recording server. It stays on the old recording server, but it's all transparently accessible to the user. So when a user logs in the smart client and they want to view video, they don't need to know where that video is. It's completely transparent. Basically what happens if it's on the old recording server, then that video goes from the old recording server, gets streamed through the new recording server, and then out to the client. So to the user, it's completely transparent. They don't know the difference at all. The video on the old recording server will age out based on whatever duration had been set there. So if the old recording server was set to 30 days, and you do a move camera to a new recording server and you tell it to keep that video for 60 days, the old video is still only going to be kept for 30 days because that's what was set over there. So, like it says there, it'll stay on there until the retention expires or until an administrator goes in and manually deletes the video. So this part comes into play if I back up 1 step or 2 steps here in this upgrade option here. So if you're replacing a recording server, so you install a new one, you choose to use the Move hardware. If you want access to that old video, then you have to keep that old recording server up and running until that old video ages out before you can take it offline. So it's just a consideration to have if you're not worried about that old video, which is rarely the case. But then you could just take it offline and you just don't have access to it. But if you want to keep it around, then you got to keep that recording server around until the 30 or 60 days or whatever your video retention is. Thomas, I'll get back to your question in a second. You want to learn more? We have a nice e-learning module on moving hardware under the configuring and using XProtect section in the e-learning. So it's a great place to go and look at that. I'm going to do a demo. Before we do a demo, we'll go back to Thomas's question real quick. He asked, are you sure the video from the old recording server is streamed through the new recording server? And Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the information we got from last week, right?
Yeah, and I was really surprised at it because that was the first time I'd heard two recording servers directly communicating with each other.
Well,
like that. But yeah, that was
the way to relate this is basically the old recording server is now an archive path. So the new recording server would retrieve that quote unquote archived video from the old recording server, just like it would a network attached storage device.
So
in some weird
layman's
cases,
in layman's terms, that's okay, but it doesn't actually access the file system. So the new recording server will connect on TCP port 5210 to the media database directly on the old recording server, and so the old recording server service still has to be running because it'll pull it through the service.
Is 5210, is that the failover port, same port the failover uses, Josh?
Am I misspeaking? I thought that was the port the media database uses.
Maybe
Whatever the
is.
port the media database uses.
Okay. Okay. No, that's probably right. Okay.
And obviously, if that server is offline, you can't retrieve the video. So if you do it as a failover, that video's not there.
Yeah, so that was the question that, and maybe Josh, you know this too, but the question Alex just asked, which goes along these lines, is if you're replacing a defective recording server, so your recording server blew up, but you have a failover and the cameras have moved over there, can you still do a move hardware? I would imagine so. But you probably wouldn't have access to the video that's on the failover server once you do the move hardware.
Right. Yeah. So once you move the recording, so the software lets you move a camera off a completely dead recording server that you've completely lost. But if you do that, I believe the UI says, "Hey, you really should be sure that you want to do this because that you can't ever bring this recording server back online."
Right.
So yeah, you can do that.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Alex? Okay. You think so? We'll go with that. All right. So we'll show a quick demo here of how this works. We'll show kind of single camera and then a multi-camera. It's really, really simple for everything this is actually doing in the background. The process is super simple. So say I want to move this one camera. So and of course now it's locked up on me. There we go. So I right click, I say move hardware. I choose what recording server. So I have these two recording servers down here, the JMT, XPEX, and XPP. I choose which one I want to move it to. It gives me some information about the storage and whatnot. And I just say move. There we go. So it gave me some warnings. Oh, so it's telling me because my device pack on my other recording service isn't updated. So it's telling me that there's, not a big deal. But so that's it. So it moved it. And then it'll basically refresh the management client here. And then once it refreshes here, we'll be able to see, I can't remember which one I moved it to. Yeah, there it is. So it moved from one to the other. If I wanted to move in bulk, instead of selecting the hardware itself, you can do the same action on the recording server, move hardware, and then you can either do a bulk check or check which ones. No, you can't do multi-select. There you go. Yeah. Click next, and again, just select your recording server, and it does the same exact thing. So super simple to do, really straightforward. Lots of different benefits. And looks like we have some other questions here. So Andrew confirmed 5210, port 5210 is correct, and it's the same port used to retrieve video from a failover server, which makes sense, I guess, because it's more or less doing the same thing. David King says there was a hot fix for the 2017 family. Is that going to be included in the 2018 builds? I'm not aware of the hot fix. I would imagine it would be included. Josh, are you aware of a hot fix for Move Hardware? Yeah, I mean, if there's a hot fix, at least my understanding, we tend to roll all hot fixes into the next build, at least generally speaking. So I would imagine it's there, but I haven't heard of any hot fix. Any other questions?
Not a big deal, but one other thing I will throw in here is if you have multiple storage configurations configured on your recording server that you're sending the camera to, it'll actually ask you which one you want to put it on.
All right, any other questions? All right, that's it for today then. Thank you very much for joining. Again, if you have suggestions on what you'd like to see on future FMFFs, please send us an email. We want to make sure we're covering stuff that at least one person in the audience is interested in hearing. And I hope you all have a good weekend.